Hey everybody, welcome to lesson 2 where we'll talk about what to do if you win your election. So congratulations, I guess you won it if you're watching this or you're preparing to win. Either way, congratulations. So let's take a look at everything that you'll need for election night and then right thereafter if you win your election. So of course, you're going to need a great speech prepared. So I just wanted to provide some tips here of what I think should be included in your speech, kind of the general tone that should be in there. So first off, thank you to everyone under the sun that you can imagine. Definitely want to get those thank yous out there. Of course, do not forget your campaign volunteers. Second, it would be really setting the right tone, I think, if you then move on to talk about the positive aspects of your community. Like when I was out here campaigning, I really came to find a greater appreciation for our community. Like this part of Main Street, who would have known that these people were so friendly? Like whatever's particular to your campaign, get that out there and talk about the positive aspects of your community, or particular to your community, rather, sorry. Third, praise your opponent. This is the opportunity to, bury the hatchet and say great things about them. Time to turn the page and move on and really praise them as a great individual. You guys might have disagreed on ideas, but they're of the utmost integrity and a great person. So really praise your opponent. Fourth, reiterate the campaign message. So throwing the red meat out there, so to speak, but talk about the things that got you elected. So revisit that campaign message and talk about those things that you really found resonating with voters when you were out there on the campaign trail. Reiterate your vision for this office that you're about to take over. Fifth, tell them that you can't wait to get to work. So you're starting to turn the page and move forward. So say that you're very eager to get to work, and then end it by telling them that you will always be there for them, that you're accessible, that you couldn't have done this without them, and that you'll always be there for everybody that's there in the room at the election night party for you, and of course for all of your constituents. Next, you're going to need to wrap up your campaign, like the official campaign committee and the campaign actions. So send out a thank you email to everybody, of course. We did it. Thank you so much. And all those people that you plan on thanking in your campaign speech, you're going to want to thank all of them. Send out a press release. It's going to have the same tone as your speech, but a little bit more formal and definitely a lot more to the point. It'd be like a one-pager. Take care of your debt if you have any. Hopefully you don't, but a lot of times when you're wrapping up a campaign, you are going to have a little bit of a debt. And in that case, you might have to either write a check yourself if you can, or try and do a little bit more fundraising there at the end. So fourth, if you have... This one's a little bit tricky. It depends on your local laws, and it also depends on your future. So you need to decide if you're going to wrap up your campaign committee and officially close the committee. This is the legal entity again that you've started. If you're going to close that out or keep it open. Keep it open if you plan on running for office again in the future and your local laws allow such. I would just reach out to your local board of elections or the local campaign or voter registrar or whatever it's called in your local area, board of elections most likely, and ask them what they recommend that you do with your campaign committee. And considering that you might run for office or you might not, weigh that into consideration. But they would be the best source of information about what to do moving forward. So let's talk transition from the current office holder to you. So first things first, you'll want to reach out to the current office holder. Hopefully you have a good relationship with that person, and this can be a really seamless transition. But you might not, and I have some tips here for that. But when you do reach out to them and set up time to go and meet with them, have very clear questions and actionable items. So for example, like, where do you foresee problems in this transition? Make sure that they're able to call those things out for you and that you're asking the right questions to get at it. Depending on the size of your office, this could be a huge undertaking in itself to do this transition. Might have to like get rid of all the old staff, bring in all new staff. They could have like entire systems in place that they're taking with them and leaving. So it could just the office could just be a shell that you're stepping into, and you have to set up everything from scratch. So really have that clear list of questions and or actionable items that are that you can set clear like deliverables against and clear next steps. If you do have trouble working together, then you can hire consultants to come in and help with this, depending on your local laws and the sensitivity of the information that would be dealt with. But that could be an option, is to have consultants come in and help with all of this. I'm sure it'll be expensive. I don't know if it would be like government dollars paying for it or campaign dollars paying for it. That's something that you'll have to dig around and figure out. But that could be an option for you. Another way that could help here is to reach out to any kind of veterans of transition. So if you ran for a city council seat and you have like 12 people on your city council, then you can probably reach out to one of those city council members that you already know that was elected previously, that had to go through the same transition, and try and figure out what was difficult for them and some call outs for you moving forward. But the big takeaway here is that this isn't something that's going to happen magically, and it's something that might be fairly difficult. So if you do your due diligence and ask the right questions and just think about this before it happens, create a little plan for yourself, a little plan for success, you'll be set up, much better than average walking into this. So take some time to prepare for it. And then of course you'll have to hire staff. And just a quick call out here is that campaign workers, people that worked on your campaign, will expect that they get an offer for positions if there are some available and it's something that they want. It doesn't mean that, maybe expect is a strong word, but it is customary that if someone has really given their heart and soul to you in the campaign, and there's opportunities to work when you get into the office, when you win, that they're going to at least be heavily considered. So even if you don't plan on hiring anyone from your campaign, it would be really uncouth to not at least consider them and make them feel like they've been strongly considered and given a fair shot. This picture is from this movie Black Sheep from the 90s, where Chris Farley and David Spade were working on Chris Farley's brother's campaign. Really funny, very 90s, very, very 90s. It's basically the movie Tommy Boy just remade into like a political campaign instead of selling auto parts across the country. It was like made like I think like the year after or even closer. They're like, well, this worked. Let's just make an exact other version of it. It was pretty funny. And then, of course, there's probably going to be sitting employees in the office that you've just won that maybe aren't political in nature and like aren't necessarily super tied to the outgoing official. And those, of course, would be people that would make strong candidates for the positions that you're hiring for. Okay, there's Leslie Knope again, my favorite girl. This was a campaign commercial that she did that was like so not good, listing every single thing she cared about. So speaking of listing things that you care about, you just ran a campaign where you probably talked about a lot of issues and made a handful of promises and spelled out plans. So you need to like figure out what was all that stuff that you said. So go through and do an audit of everything that you talked about on the campaign. Essentially make a big giant list of here's what I talked about a lot, here's what I said I was going to do. So you need to go through and do that audit and see everything that you said you were going to do. And then you need to prioritize your promises. So what's the most important one that you get to work on right away? And what's something that's maybe 6 months down the road, 12 months down the road, 2 years down the road? But you can't be a Leslie Knope and tackle everything at once. It's not going to be successful for you. So when you have that prioritized list of promises, then you need to create a timeline and a strategy for each of those. And we're talking like the top prioritized ones, because this is something that people are going to expect to see, given that you were just talking about it on the campaign. So create a timeline for each, and then a strategy for how you're going to deliver on that. And that strategy could be like overarching and then broken down into like actionable items underneath it. But just a call out here is that this could be an entire course. People get degrees like I did, a master's in public administration. Mine was more focused on economics, but people get MPAs and masters in public policy and even like MBAs and management consulting gigs to learn how to like help people deliver on public administration programs. So I'm telling you here that you need to do it for the top things that you've prioritized, but just saying, hey, you need to do this is very, 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 very surface level for something that can be extremely complex and is really the art of governing, which is what you signed up for when you ran the campaign. So congratulations, you just created a lot of work for yourself. I'm so happy you won. So yeah, but the main takeaway here is do an audit of everything that you said, prioritize the top level initiatives, and then get to work on them. That's the big takeaway for this. And then lastly here, take a vacation. Before you go and dive in full speed after you get, you're swearing in and you're holding the office, make sure to take a vacation. Like, you're gonna need that getaway before you dive in. So take the time and do it. All right, that's it for this lesson. Congratulations again, guys, on winning your race or on planning to win your race if election day hasn't come yet and you're watching this video. Super proud of you guys. Great job.